visual literacy, the ability to read and interpret images. And on the same page in the intro, you'll find that content is what's in the image or picture, context, what's going on in the artist's life or in the world. Concept is the idea. We were talking about subliminal images, and subliminal means it's beneath the threshold of consciousness. You're unaware of it. Then we studied semiotics, which is the study of symbols and their interpretation. Right? There's a lot of ways to study them, like through codes, but it's the study of symbols and their interpretation. When you looked at vanitas, you saw that they are always still lifes, and that they really stress that life is short and that human vanity is just folly. The memento mori is a reminder of death. Now, in semiotics, if you go to the link, you'll see that signifier is the same as something that denotes something. A signifier is an image that has a really specific meaning, but the connotation is the idea or feeling that you connect to something literal, right? Like you'll see a literal red heart, but you will associate love with that. So it's an idea or feeling connected to the denoted signifier. So the denotation is the literal thing. It is a skull. It is a pirate flag. An icon is a symbol with a deeper meaning. And I do want to say that in some of the material, they slightly define icon in another way. I'm specifically referring to art icons. Semiotics is this huge field that encompasses many disciplines. So an icon would be a symbol with a deeper meaning. You know from your experience that a metonymic code are images that cause the viewer to make assumptions, and that a displaced code, it says in the material that you're transferring meaning, but it's usually about something taboo. Like we saw a lot of displaced codes in advertising when we saw phallic shapes. A condensed code is when you combine several things to create a new meaning. It's like you're putting together a lot of different things to make a new meaning. So it's like condensed, right? Okay, there's more than one meaning and it's super layered. It's when you combine several signs to create a new composed image. Anthropomorphic, is having human characteristics, like the honeybee on the Cheerios. Compositional pathway, when the artist leads your eye from one focal point to another. That was on the page where you saw the classical painting of Elizabeth, Mary, and Joseph's with their key shapes of triangles. This is discussed in that video. Extensionality, when an artist expresses something that resonates with the viewer. Then I ask you about Durer's Night, Death, and the Devil. What is the horse a symbol of? What is it an example of? What's the technique? What does the dog represent? There's a small detail at the edge of the mountain above the night that most people don't know about. It is a goat, signifying Lucifer, right? Cool. You know something most people don't. All right, let's see. Then I have Romare Bearden's work, and I ask you, what does the black cat represent? And one that I thought was more difficult that I'll go over, in Romare Bearden's Rocket to the Moon, there is a church-like shape with a lady praying. What does that stand for? It stands for Martin Luther King, who was kind of a different than the Black Panthers. So you had the Black Panthers and Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was teaching in churches and doing community organizing, so that church represents Martin Luther King, just like the black cat represents the Black Panthers. Okay, cool. Since the black cat is the Black Panthers, that shows the context of the civil rights. You need to know that context of that piece is during civil rights because of that black cat. And then I ask you about the Van Eyck portrait, and the woman wears green because she also wears blue. And what does blue mean? And what does a single candle mean? And the context, because of the context of the time period of Jan van Eyck, we know that the woman would or would not be pregnant. And why? She would not be pregnant because during the 1400s, you would not be pregnant out of wedlock. And this is thought to be a marriage portrait, right? So you wouldn't be showing that you're pregnant. So that's why in the context, you may assume that she's not pregnant. There are other art historical theories on that, but for this, it's the most common one. Okay, question number 31 goes, in Audrey Flack's Wheel of Fortune, what does the blue fabric, the blue cloth represent? And what is the key shape in Flack's painting? Since it's called the Wheel of Fortune. Flack's artwork, you need to know that it's of Anita. And then one challenging question, give an example of a metonymic code found in Flack's artwork. That means you have to understand metonymic. And metonymic, you saw when you did your projects, you had one photo, and when you put those two objects together, you made new associations. So didn't you learn in Audrey Flack's Wheel of Fortune that the artist just didn't randomly put things together, but it might be like a half-burned candle and a skull, or half-burned candle and an hourglass. And so in semiotics, you learned how to put these things together. And since a metonymic code means an association, when I say, give an example of a metonymic code found in Flack's artwork, what I mean is give me an example of how when you put two pieces together, it causes the viewer to create an assumption. Got it? And that needs to be a complete sentence. In these pieces next, let me make sure I've got it right. I then show you some examples from the kiss part. And in the study guide, it has specific kisses listed, right? So Brancusi's was the one where there were two people in a block, and we talked about how they look like a boring couple, right? And how they had one eye, two people with one eye seeing as one. Okay, you cannot tell me this is two people kissing. It's like you have to show me you learned something. So if you learned that the arms create an equal sign showing equality, and as well as the eyes forming one vision, you learn something. You could say the square is a shape that suggests stability. This couple seems to have a stable relationship. See, it has to be a complete sentence that shows you learned something. If I can see it, what you described, but you're not telling me you learned something, no points. So you have to do that for Brancusi's kiss, and you have to do it for Rodin's kiss, which is the two people in the whirlwind courtship, the whirlwind composition, and it was her kissing her husband's brother. It was a kiss that damned them to hell. And the stone makes that seem eternal. The next one will be Raphael's the Madonna in the Cherry, the round painting, and we talked about how there was a compositional pathway in that piece, and you have to describe the compositional pathway in that piece. The next piece that we did was the Holy Family on the steps, and that was where there were all those triangles, like Elizabeth, Mary, and Joseph in the triangles. So I want you to discuss that key shape And why did the artist use a triangle? Okay, now it jumps at question 39. Like, I ask you to write one sentence, and then there's a jump for vocab. You need to know that when advertisers use suggestive subliminal imagery in their ads, it is often a displaced code. And we kind of covered that before, but that would be important. Then the next sculpture you're asked to talk about is Mark Quinn's The Two Disabled People. Okay. And let's see. Then the two lovers that were kissing with the cloth over their face, The Dreamers, I think, by Magritte. One sentence about that. And these are all listed in the study guides, right? That you have to write a sentence about it. Chagall, The Birthday Kiss, where he's flipped for her and he's floating in the air. And Alex Gray's The Electric One, the guy who was on acid in order to see this vision. You need to know what is meant by representational art, realistic art. Abstract is about ideas and feelings. Then it goes to Carl Jung, was a famous early psychologist who influenced what type of art? He influenced abstract art because he had people go into their ideas and feelings rather than the real concrete world. And his theory of the collective unconscious, as you will remember, is just as we have a group reality, we share group dreams, visions, and symbols. I should not be spoon-feeding you. Joseph Campbell, an influential 20th century thinker, said that when people didn't understand the symbols used in art anymore, it was a sign that, yes, society was falling apart. You need to know that an archetype is a psychologically important symbol. Kathy Kolowitz, which was in the video that I discussed, is a lady with her hand clamped over her baby's mouth. You need to know what type of lines the artist used and why. And that's in the talk, in the video, if you're not sure. Hierarchical scale means making something bigger because it's psychologically important. You can think of, in Egypt, the pharaohs are made really big and the slaves are made really small. It doesn't mean the slaves are dwarfs. It just means the pharaoh is psychologically more important. Vertical lines, as you know, show power and strength. Horizontal lines are calm and peaceful. The diagonal lines show movement and energy. Triangles can suggest both spirituality and movement.